I walked into the registry only to find our home signed away in my wife's name, without our consent. Who would betray us like that, and why? I followed the trail to one surprising culprit, and what happened next was nothing short of revenge. I remember the afternoon like it was any other. My wife and I sitting at the kitchen table with a stack of bills, calculators out, mapping our last few mortgage payments. We were so close to being free of that monthly burden. We joked about finally redoing the bathroom tile, maybe even opening up our small backyard to build a deck. It felt good, like we were on the brink of something better after years of renting and pinching pennies. Sarah was leaning back in her chair, scrolling through home improvement ideas on her phone. "You know," she said, "my sister offered to help us with the paperwork. She said she'd run everything to the notary and make sure it goes through fast." I nodded, trusting her implicitly. After all, Linda had always been the organized one in the family. Meticulous, buttoned up, the kind of person who cross-checks every form twice. A week later, we found out just how helpful that offer really was. Based on nothing more than a thin envelope arriving at our door that morning, life tipped sideways. It was a slick government envelope, heavy with official letterhead from the land registry. I tore it open and read the headline twice, "Notice of Transfer of Title." My heart sank before I could even swallow. The letter explained that, as of 2 days ago, the deed to our house had been transferred to a new owner. The document was attached in full, and my eyes flicked down to the signature page. There it was, in perfect penmanship, my wife's name. Underneath, the notary had stamped it with a date and seal. I slammed the envelope onto the table so hard Sarah ducked. "What the hell is this?" I demanded. She looked down at the papers, her face draining of color. "Kyle, I didn't sign anything. I swear." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "It says here you did. And someone gave permission. Do you even remember signing a transfer?" She shook her head, her lips trembling. "No. I have no idea. I asked Linda to handle the closing documents, that's all. I told her to go to the notary, sign on our behalf if needed, and bring everything back so we could finish the payment in person." My pulse was pounding. I flipped back through the notice, looking for a slip-up, maybe a wrong date or a typo. Nothing. It was everything Linda promised to do, except it wasn't. The deed transfer form had gone through, and someone was now the legal owner of our home. In that moment, trust curdled into something colder. I thought of our conversations, our plans, and how I had never doubted a single thing. The sister-in-law who teased me about my spreadsheets and took my side in every family argument had somehow orchestrated a complete betrayal. I don't yell. I've never been loud. But I felt something click inside, a clarity that I needed evidence before I exploded. Confrontations without proof meant nothing. If I accused Linda or Sarah without hard facts, I'd end up looking irrational, like some jealous spouse. So I took a deep breath and picked up the phone instead. "I'm driving down to the registry," I said quietly. "I need every detail on how this happened." Sarah blinked, tears brimming. "Please, just find out what's going on." That drive felt endless. Every red light was a question I couldn't answer. Did Linda really forge my wife's signature? Was my wife complicit without realizing it? And most important, how do you catch a family member in a lie without destroying everything around you? I parked outside the government office and stared at the building's glass doors. In less than an hour, I'd have the official records in my hand. But with those pages would come the realization of exactly how deeply someone had betrayed us, and what I planned to do next. I drive to the land registry office still clutching that notice in my hand. The morning light hits the building's facade, and I feel a strange mix of dread and determination. There's no point wasting time at home. I need the official records in front of me, every page, every seal, every signature. Inside, the waiting room buzzes with muted conversation. People file in and out clutching folders, pushing through bureaucracy as if it were a rite of passage. I step up to the counter and state my request plainly. I'd like an extract from the Unified State Register of Real Estate for parcel. The clerk nods, takes my notice, and tells me to wait. 20 minutes later, I'm handed a crisp, bound copy of the registry extract. My heart thumps as I flip to the transfer deed section. There it is in black and white. The deed was transferred 3 days ago. The previous owner is listed as my wife, and the new owner is a name I don't recognize. I stop breathing for a second. Next, I pull out the photocopy of the sales contract that came with the notice. With both documents side by side, I begin comparing details. Then I see it. The notary's seal on the contract is stamped a full week before the date on the power of attorney. No notary would sign and seal a document before the principal granted authority. The date discrepancy is glaring, impossible to explain away as a typo. It's outright fabrication. I lean forward, pinch the bridge of my nose, and force myself to slow down. There's no rush, just methodical, precise action. I take out my phone and photograph every page of the contract. The signature line, the notary seal, the date on the power of attorney. Each click of the camera is like filing away a piece of proof, a puzzle fragment that, when assembled, will reveal the truth. "Do you need certified copies?" the clerk asks, peering over the counter. "Absolutely," I reply without hesitation. "I need them sealed and signed by the registrar." A few moments later, I'm handed a stack of paperwork stamped with bright red seals, official copies that carry the full weight of state authentication. I tuck them into my folder, knowing these will be key when I confront the betrayal. But I'm not done. Facts alone won't sway a forged signature. I need confirmation from the source, the notary who signed that power of attorney. So I submit an official request to the notary's archive. The form asks for the copy of the original power of attorney and the date it was issued. I attach my certified copy of the contract and the registry extract for context. Processing will take up to 5 business days, the clerk informs me. "Understood," I say calmly. "Please notify me immediately if you find any discrepancy in the originals." As I leave the registry office, I feel a cold clarity settling in my chest. The evidence is mounting. Forged date, mismatched seals, official confirmations on their way. Every step is deliberate, every document a nail in the coffin of my sister-in-law's deception. Back in the car, I review the copies once more, tracing the lines of the forged date with my finger. I picture her, confidently handing over my wife's name and signature, expecting the world to accept it without question. She counted on people trusting her, on me trusting her. But now the ledger is balanced. I tape the certified copies to the dashboard and drive home, ready to plan the next move. No screaming accusations. No blind, emotional confrontations. Just irrefutable, state-authenticated proof. In a few days, when the notary's archive responds with the official record, or lack thereof, I'll have every detail I need. And when that moment comes, there will be no escaping the truth. By the time I stepped into the registry office for the second time that week, every detail of my plan was locked into place. I needed Linda to believe there was one final formality to complete, a so-called clarification of the power of attorney, something minor that she could breeze through. In reality, this meeting would be the moment her entire scheme unraveled. I called her the evening before. "Hey, Linda," I said, keeping my voice casual. "The registrar called. They want you to come in tomorrow morning, just for a quick signature adjustment on the power of attorney. They said it's a simple date confirmation, shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. She sounded relieved. "Perfect. I'll bring everything, my ID, that folder of documents you gave me." "Great," I replied. "See you at 10. What Linda didn't know was that I'd already spoken with both the head registrar and a trusted local officer. I met the registrar in his office the day before, slid the certified copies across his desk, and laid out the evidence of forgery. The mismatched seal date on the power of attorney, the colleague's affidavit confirming my wife had never signed the document. The registrar frowned, leaned closer, and promised to handle it discreetly. Just as important, he agreed that as soon as Linda presented her paperwork, he would formally challenge the signature and call on the officer for verification. That same afternoon, I stopped by the precinct. The desk sergeant knew me. I'd worked with him years ago on a neighborhood association issue. I showed him the copies of the contract and explained the situation calmly. "I believe my sister-in-law has committed document fraud. I'd like an officer present when she attempts to finalize this transaction." He reviewed the documents, set his jaw, and told me he'd arrange for Officer Duran to be on standby in the registry corridor the next morning. I left both meetings feeling a strange mix of anticipation and restraint. The hard work, the travel, the filings, the certified copies, was behind me. Now it was a matter of timing. At 10:30 the next day, I took my place in the waiting area, dressed in a plain suit to look as inconspicuous as possible. Linda arrived a few minutes early, her confident smile still in place. She was flanked by our realtor, a longtime friend I'd asked to play the part, James, with his neat dress shirt and leather portfolio. He greeted the registrar like an old acquaintance, and they ushered the three of them into the back office together. I shifted in my seat, heart pounding but face calm. I watched the double doors close behind them. A few moments later, a murmur of raised voices drifted out. Then the door cracked open, and I saw James slip out, nodding slightly to signal me that it was time. Almost immediately, the doors burst open again. Linda stepped into the corridor, clutching her folder, looking puzzled. Behind her, the registrar stood with a stern expression, pointing at the folder in her hands. And just beyond them, Officer Duran emerged from around the corner, badge in hand. I stood up and approached, maintaining a respectful distance. Linda's face blanched when she saw me. She stammered something about what's happening, but the registrar cut in. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this signature does not match the official sample on file," he said, holding up her power of attorney. "Under Section 312B of the Registry Code, we must conduct an immediate verification. Officer Duran will take your statement." Linda's mouth fell open. "You can't do this. My sister sent me these papers herself," she blurted, turning to me with panic in her eyes. I shook my head slowly. "No, Linda. I sent you the originals. You brought a forged version." She backed away, eyes dotting to the officers. My friend James watched from the doorframe, expression unreadable. Linda swallowed hard, realizing the gravity of her mistake. Officer Duran stepped forward. "Ma'am, I need to confirm your identity and the authenticity of your documents. Please come with me to my vehicle so we can take your statement." Defeated, Linda nodded. The registrar signaled quietly to me, then closed the doors behind them. Standing alone in the corridor, I felt no relief, only a cold sense of justice in motion. The trap had worked perfectly. No shouting matches, no messy confrontations, just an unassailable legal challenge at the moment she believed she was untouchable. By lunchtime, the registry had suspended all actions on the property transfer pending formal investigation. Linda's name was already marked in the system as under review, and word would spread through the local administrative offices by the end of the day. And all because I refused to let betrayal go unanswered. The corridor outside the registry office felt unnaturally quiet as Officer Duran cleared his throat and began reciting Linda's rights. "Ma'am, you are under investigation for criminal forgery of official documents," he stated, voice firm yet low enough that only she and I could hear. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say may be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to legal counsel." Linda's shoulders sagged, her confident composure dissolving into panic. The evidence was stacked against her, the mismatched seal dates, the notarized affidavits, and now the public testimony of a law enforcement officer. She opened her mouth, as if to sputter a denial, but the officer raised a hand. "Please come with me to complete your statement," he said, motioning toward the service elevator. Before she could protest further, I saw camera flashes from the edge of the hallway. I had arranged for 2 reporters from the local gazette to be present quietly, just far enough to capture the moment but not so close as to tip off Linda beforehand. As Officer Duran led her toward the elevator, one of the reporters clicked record on a smartphone. Within minutes, the live video feed was streaming on the newspaper's website under the headline, "Local Woman Arrested for Property Fraud." I watched on my own phone as viewers flooded to the live stream. Comments scrolled by, "Wow, never expected this. Who knew family could turn on family? That's brutal." The stream cut between the reporter's whispered commentary and footage of Linda, now handcuffed, her once proud posture reduced to trembling defeat. Desperate, Linda began to stammer, I didn't mean harm. It was just supposed to be a quick signature adjustment. I trusted the paperwork," her voice cracked, trying to frame her actions as a misunderstanding. But the registrar's handcuffed presence, the official badges on uniforms, and the flashing record lights left no room for sympathy. The live broadcast froze a close-up of her surrender, and the reporter's voiceover stated flatly, "Official records and video evidence confirm that this document was fraudulently signed." A second cameraman panned to the original registry extract displayed on a small folding table, proof that the signature dated weeks before the legitimate power of attorney was ever granted. The contrast was undeniable. Linda's excuses echoed hollow against the clarity of the recorded facts. As I stood a few feet away, I felt no triumph, only the resolve that justice had been served. The image of my sister-in-law being read her rights, her attempt at explanation drowned out by the live video and the registered protocol, cemented the truth for everyone watching. She had orchestrated her own downfall, and there was no undoing what was now permanently etched into public record. I don't sleep much that week. Every morning, my inbox pings with updates from the registry and bits of local news coverage. By Wednesday, the land registry's official notice lands in my hands. The sale is annulled, the forged documents declared void, and the title formally restored to my wife's name. I read the lines twice, my chest hollow with relief and something colder, vindication. That same day, my phone lights up with links to the Gazette's website. The headline blares, "Woman arrested for property fraud, sister of homeowner under investigation." I click through article after article. Reporters quote the registrar's statement, recount the forgery details, and show stills from the live stream. Linda in cuffs, the mismatched seal, the date stamped before the legitimate power of attorney existed. Comments under the articles range from shock to schadenfreude. Some readers express disbelief that family betrayal could go this far. By Friday, Linda's name is on the county courthouse docket as the defendant in a criminal fraud case. I don't gloat, but I allow myself a moment to acknowledge how thoroughly the system has worked in my favor. Every rule she thought she could bend has held firm. Every procedure she tried to exploit is now her undoing. That afternoon, I leave the office early and drive to the registry one last time. The building looks the same, but nothing feels the same. As I step inside, the receptionist greets me with a polite nod, no surprise, no extra questioning. She already has the final confirmation documents ready for me, a stamped certification of title, a bound copy of the annulment order, and a brief letter from the registrar apologizing for any inconvenience. I sign a simple receipt and tuck the papers into my briefcase. On my way out, I see a camera crew packing up their gear, journalists chatting among themselves with notepads in hand. They catch my eye, then turn away, sensing they've gotten their story. I don't stop to talk. Outside, the autumn air is crisp. I pull my coat tighter and call my wife. "I'm at the registry. Come meet me here." A few minutes later, Sarah arrives. She steps out of the car looking exhausted but steady. No tears, no words, just resolve. We walk together toward the entrance, side by side, sharing the weight of that week's events in silence. At the front desk, I hand over my receipt and ask for a new key set. The attendant hands me 2 cold, metal fobs stamped with our address. I turn to Sarah and place one fob in her hand. She gives me a small, grateful look. I clear my throat. "It's ours again," I say softly. She nods, relief and fatigue in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispers. I offer a half-smile but say nothing more. Words feel unnecessary. The keys speak for themselves. Control returned, trust shattered but home reclaimed. We step outside into the fading light, the registry building's windows reflecting our silhouetted forms. Sarah holds the key fob tightly, and I reach for her hand. That simple gesture of solidarity feels heavier than any dramatic speech ever could. As we walk back to the car, I glance over my shoulder once. The entrance where it all collapsed is now just another doorway. Behind us lies the wreckage of deception. Ahead, the promise of rebuilding on firmer ground. I don't know exactly what comes next. Counseling, new routines, maybe even forgiving in time. But in this moment, the scales are balanced. The trap I laid was precise, legal, and unwavering. No shouting, no physical confrontation, just the cold certainty that truth, when wielded correctly, can exact a punishment harsher than any outburst. And as Sarah and I drive away, I let the registry's neon sign fade in the rearview mirror, knowing I've taken back what was mine, and that's justice enough.